Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sean Harvey here, and my co-host, billionaire sister from another mister, Julia Patterson. Welcome to today's episode of Success with Dynamic Duo. I'm in awe. I got my seatbelt fastened. I don't know what we're in store of or for, but I know this. It's going to be good. So fasten your seatbelts, and Julia will tell you a little bit more. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Turn off all your distractions and pay attention. Because when you make a decision and act upon it, your life will never be the same. Take it away, Julia.
Thanks, Sean. Welcome, everyone. Sean, I know you almost said billionaire brother. I saw you stop yourself. I had to bug you just a little bit. Welcome, everyone, again. And we have a really special guest today, Ruth Stuettgen. I'm not sure. Stuettgen, is that how you say it? From Australia?
No, we never practiced, did we?
Pardon me?
We never practiced.
No, we didn't practice that part. Yeah. But you can tell us when you know. Anyway, so I'm just going to introduce you here. Ruth is a coach, an author, and a speaker. And I said she lives in Australia. She helps women find their power and purpose to live life with total integrity and balance. Ruth has a really powerful story. And I have to say, she's went from victim to victorious, because she made a decision one day and decided it was time to get out of the life she had. So Ruth, if you would be so kind as to share whatever parts of your story you wish, any aha moments along the way, and how you keep yourself motivated and inspired and moving forward every day. If you don't mind telling us all that stuff, and we'll just sit back and absorb your knowledge. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to be on your show and for inviting me. And I seem to recall that I'm not even sure, I'm trying to figure out how we actually connected, right?
It was on the speakers or coaches Facebook group. That's how we connected.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. And I thought, do you agree with this Facebook thing being quite an awesome tool that we have these days? Because otherwise we would not have been connected, right?
Absolutely. I just love Facebook. I use it all the time.
Yeah. It's if I may say that, it's sort of this love-hate relationship I've got with Facebook at the moment.
I hear you.
I've always had this relationship with it because, it's good in a way, because you get to connect with people that you've known for a long time, with new people and people that have been hidden in your past for a certain amount of time, from your childhood or from your schooling or something like that. Absolutely. But there comes a time when you've just got to switch it off and just reconnect with your inner self, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And with the things right around you that's sort of in your face, and not as in Facebook, a little bit more removed. So you've got to go from that Facebook to that face. I'm trying to find a word, because this is just what's come up for me. So it's what the face is right around you, within in a smaller space around you. Mm-hmm. So my story. It's vast, it's huge. There's a lot of things that have gone on in my life, and I guess it's part of my journey as well, and everyone's journey would be different. Mm-hmm. I'm based in Australia now, but my origins are from South Africa. Okay. And I moved with part of my family to Australia when I was 16. And from here, I sort of branched out. So if you know a little bit about the South African history, it's strewn with apartheid, where the color of your skin led you into certain paths in your life, mm-hmm. and to have certain experiences, which can be totally different depending on what color your skin is, or was back then. So we came to Australia, and from there I went to Germany. I lived there for about 15 years of my adult life. I was married there, had my 3 children there as well, and then when my second daughter, my second child, my daughter, when she was born, no, when she was 5, we came back to Australia. So my family was based here. I had been living in Germany for 15 years. So then I came back to Australia with my 3 children, and my then husband followed me about 9 months later. So it's about, it was a few years. I got married in 1990. And so that was 2005 that we came down. So in that time, obviously you work, you have kids, you do whatever you need to do. You start raising your children. You're a mom. You're a wife, a housewife, and all that kind of thing. So that was my story anyway. And my relationship was a bit up and down, and that's all I knew in my marital relationship. And it became very up and down over the years. But when it was more down, you'd acknowledge it, you'd wallow in that situation, and then you'd go up, and that's what relationships can be like. But I didn't realize that. I didn't put a label on the kind of relationship that I was in, that it was actually abusive. I chose not to see that it was an abusive relationship. And I say chose because I believe that everyone has a choice. And I chose at the time, for whatever reason, be it I needed to be on that journey, to be in that abusive relationship, to stay in it and to be treated like that. It was my choice. I could have gotten out any second. I could have said, no, I don't want to be treated like that. I don't want to be married to you anymore, and just walk away from that. But I chose to stay for whatever reason, be it love, be it dependence, be it wanting to be there in a relationship that from the outside seemed okay, and be there for my children so that they can have a father, a mother, and somehow a kind of a family life.
The family unit.
Yeah, family unit. And I think that's in probably 99% of cases like that. It's because women or men, if they are the ones being abused, that they want to have that kind of stability, or that feeling of comfort, even though it might be unhappy. I still think in those times where it's not unhappy, that there is some kind of a stability and the family unit that you want to be in. And then an abuse are like cycles, yeah? There's this cycle of violence, they call it, where you have something like a honeymoon phase where everything is fine again, and then it just goes down, and you're in that situation of abuse, and then you might be able to get out of it, and so it just continues on like that. So it can become a vicious circle until you choose to get out of it.
Being from my first marriage was abusive as well, and I'm totally relating to what you're saying, because when you have that honeymoon stage, you think everything is better again.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. And it's everything.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just an illusion though, because I mean, I don't know what your husband's triggers were, but with my ex, I mean, he had his triggers, and I always got blamed. And that's that cycle, right? It's the cycle, and it just keeps getting worse and worse.
Yes.
So, I mean, I totally get what you're saying. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of inject that.
No, that's fine. And I mean, and it is that thing about being blamed, right? And I felt that I was the one that was blamed all the time, or I felt to blame. So, despite, like you say, triggers, what was the trigger? Was it something that I did? That outside trigger that triggered something inside him to behave in that particular way? And I also believe that I was perhaps only the scapegoat, or that point, the tip of the iceberg that let him behave the way he did. It might have been something from his childhood, or something that happened way back for him, even before he was born, because that kind of thing passes on for generations and generations. We don't know. It's such a vast issue, not just abuse, but how you are as a person in this lifetime, how you behave. Yeah.
And I think too, it's when you come together as a couple in that kind of a situation, it's, they have the issue and you have your issues of taking it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's two-sided. It's just,
that's right.
And it's when you make that decision. So what made you decide to get out of that situation?
What made me decide? Just the fact that it was the time to decide, because statistically, for people to leave a violent relationship, it takes about 8 goes. And I think I probably got pretty close to it, if not more. To want to leave that situation, or to not want to be in that situation, and to either physically remove yourself from it, or to mentally and emotionally remove yourself from it. So physically, it only happened once that I actually, and it was that move that the day that whatever it was that happened, that occurred before that triggered me to want to physically leave that situation that particular day. So mentally and emotionally, in that I switched off a long time ago, even though I stayed in that relationship and continued to be abused. That physical step was a step that I took with, I believe, divine intervention. It was the time that I needed to go. It was the time that I'd learned enough lessons to be able to get to that point, to say, that's it, enough is enough. Not consciously at the time saying that, but inside feeling it, in the pit of my stomach,
Right.
that logically I needed to stay, or I wanted to stay, because my oldest daughter, she was in her final year at school. My second daughter, she was just starting her last few years, 6 years of school. So we call that secondary schooling here, or high school. So very crucial times that I had been avoiding. So, all this, I can't leave now because she's just starting her high school. I can't leave now because she's in a final year of school. What could this be doing to her? How could she be reacting, and what could be her school result because of the step that I'm taking or want to take? But on that day, that was the right day, regardless of where my children were on their life journey. I needed to leave. I needed to leave with them, and I needed to step out of that house. And logically in my mind, I was thinking, I shouldn't be doing this. I need to just wait those 10 months, 9 months for my daughter to finish and then leave. But in the pit of my stomach, I also knew that I could not stay another night in that house under the same roof as the father of my children. And I just moved from there. I just took that one step of hurriedly getting out of the house whilst the kids were at school and at playgroup or kindergarten, and then leaving and then coming back a couple of times to grab essential things, and hoping that he would not come home in that time, and then just never looking back again. And that wasn't that long ago. So coming back to the point of what made me decide, I think it was just the right time, and there is no right time for different people. It's different for everyone.
Yeah.
And the circumstances are different. So for some people it might be, as like in my case, just having to leave on that particular day with no actual plan in mind. And other people, they do have a little bit of a plan where they start, I've heard of people systematically moving out their things. So while the abuser is not in the house, they move things out, but he doesn't realize that they're moving out. They start putting money into an account, or they take cash money out, and people putting money into their car, into their glove box, and then the husband finding that, or the abuser, because I'm saying abuser because it could be the woman as well. Just things like that. And then on one particular day, okay, they say, right, now I'm ready to go, and I will move just myself out now, because I've moved all those other things out of the past. Others have a more tragic experience than what I would have perhaps gone through. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they get hurt, you know what I mean? On that particular day, and they get taken to hospital or something, and they never go back again. So it's different for everyone.
So you're basically, I mean, you've obviously done a lot of healing, because it hasn't even really been 2 years, has it? You said it hasn't, because it was 2015, you said, right? That you were 2012? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you said, okay.
I published my book, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, you've done a lot of work on yourself, and what were some of the aha moments as far as when you were working through that through everything and moving forward, so it was good for you and your children? Basically, I mean, you were taking your power back. You were, dealing with all the stuff that had happened, and, just basically, like, how did you get from that point to where you are now? Because now you're a coach, you're an author, and you're a speaker. That's huge. It's a big jump.
That's right. And it doesn't happen just like that, does it? Because
no, it doesn't.
I had, my career in the police force. I've had a stint at teaching, and a stint at, various business things that I did. And so it was a gradual progression to where I am now, and I'm still on this journey. And I believe strongly that I'm still going through a lot of things to get me to a point and beyond where my experiences allow me to is there a reason why Sean is not in the picture?
He's listening. He just doesn't have his camera on right now.
Right.
He does that sometimes. He just kind of goes.
So, I did a lot of soul searching, and I still am, because life is a journey, and it will only ever stop when we're not physically here. So I worked with coaches, and I worked with mentors. I did a lot of personal development stuff, and that's what I still do now, like meditation, listening to motivational talks and podcasts, and reading motivational books to keep me on track. And I believe also that throughout my journey in that abusive relationship, I came onto that path. I stumbled, even though there's nothing such as a coincidence, upon personal development things and spiritual things like Reiki, and I'm a Reiki practitioner. And that actually kept my head above water, and it kept me on a fairly sane level, so that I can carry on the day to day.
I'm laughing because sane is not, that's just a word. It means different things to different people, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's a word that we just put any kind of meaning to it, right? So yeah, so those kind of things, doing some soul searching and working with mentors and coaches and people who've been through what I've been through and have come out on the other side, and with their various experiences. That then led me to wanting to write my book, my first book, From Misery to Mastery, Journey to Freedom and Empowerment, which contains a bit of my story, or a lot of my story, and then about steps that I put into practice to keep my head above water, and to also be okay with where I am. and to know that I want to help others who perhaps have gone through the same thing, and to show them that it's okay to go through what you have gone through, and to just be acknowledging that whatever it is that you've gone through has brought you to this point, and that you can be somehow, somewhat thankful for that other person or for that experience to have allowed you to be with him or with her or with it, because without it you wouldn't have gone to this point. You wouldn't have, because every adversity is going to bring some kind of positive experience in the end, because you are growing, you're expanding, and you are picking up lessons and results upon your way, that you can show others that it's okay, that you've come out of it, and that they can also get to that point. Even though it's hard to believe sometimes that when you are going through something that there's just no way out, that why is it me? That's a question that I've always asked myself. Why me? Why not someone down the road? Why is it that I have to go through that? Why is it that I have to be the divorcee? You know, that was actually one of the things that I found very hard to come to terms with, to be one of the statistics. Being a single mom, being a divorcee, and all that kind of thing, being a victim. But now I'm victorious, right?
Absolutely. I was just going to say that's the difference between victim and victorious, because when you start looking at things in that way of, there's an experience that I've had, yes, it could be taken as a negative, but if you turn it around and learn from it as your personal experience, and then you take that experience and you help others, then you become victorious. You've totally turned it around. And I mean, that's what I did too. I focused on it too, right? And I do that every single day, right? So it's, and the way, where you've come from and where you are now is just amazing. So congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank
so
you.
Here I am. I'm going to share a little story to what you said, Ruth. I too am a victim and a victor of a bad relationship with, you know, my previous girlfriend, who I was engaged to be married to, and it throws your life for a whirlwind in, like, you know, that booth that you can stand in where there's like the hurricane booth where you stand in there for like 2 minutes, you try to grab the money. It's like that, but emotionally, it's like, oh my God, you're there. You want to be there for your children. On the other hand, you know, you can't get treated that way you're getting treated. You're giving, you're not receiving. It's a one-sided relationship. And on the other hand, you need to look at yourself. And I had to like dig deep, because I wanted to like beat the living snot out of this other person. But I'm like, nope, I can't do that. Anger management's kicking in, going, what if I do that? I'm going to end up in jail, get arrested, and all that other stuff. Not going down that road. I need to be the bigger person and go, you know what? I'm walking away from this. 3 strikes, you're out. And I didn't want to believe that that was happening in my life. And one of my friends that I used to work with said to me, Sean, he said, I know it's happening. He calls me while we're at work throughout the day, pull over on the White Mud, which is one of the major vessels in Edmonton. So it's a main artery of the city from north to south. Pulled over on the side of the road, and he literally went to my house and caught her cheating as she's pregnant with my daughter. And it was like, I didn't want to believe it. I'm like, you know what? I went home, I grabbed my stuff. I'm not staying for my children. I'm staying because I thought, you know what? I'd be the bigger person, but I'm like, no, I'm not staying. This is enough and enough. Moving on with life, and carried on with life. And it's been her loss, my gain. But it is, you know, 75% of relationships end in divorce. Biggest reason is money. Number 2 reason is infidelity. And number 3 reason is abuse, mentally, emotionally, physically, and sexually in the whole entire globe. So people don't understand how serious this topic is. And I'm sure that's probably what your book is all about your journey from the trenches to now onto the upper parts of the mountain. It's people, it's just so freaking crazy on what happens in the world, on how people treat other people, that is inhumane. It's not right. It's emotionally, morally, ethically wrong. People take advantage of people financially. I mean, we could talk for days and days and days about this topic, but people need to understand that their voice needs to be heard, because, hey, someplace in the world, there's children being abused physically and mentally, and potentially sexually. I was physically and emotionally abused. Not sexually, but I was physically and emotionally abused as a child. And people say, how did you turn out to be the way you are today? And I said, you know what? I had great role models in my life that helped me become the person that I am today, along with personal development. And that was my grandparents. And yes, there was counseling and all of these other things. And I had two choices: go to the dark side or stay on the light side. And I said, you know what? My future is so bright. I need to share this with the world, that there's somebody that we can inspire to save them from being treated the way they get treated. And I just want to say kudos to you. God bless you. We love you. Thank you for sharing your story. I look forward to having a copy of your book when you send it to me, and I'll pay for the shipping, because I'm also writing a book.
All right.
I'll send you one as well. And I just need to say this, guys, the viewers watching this, don't think that you're alone when you're going through these challenging times, because God gives you something that you could handle. If he didn't think you couldn't have handled it, he would have never given it to you. So just think, everything happens for a reason. There is a divine reason and purpose as to why that challenge is happening in your life at that time. And it's a learning tool to help others stop going through what they're going through, so that they too can have a better life and learn from the experiences and faults of others of going through those kind of challenges. So thank you, Ruth, for that. That was awesome. Goosebumps are like about 4 inches off my arms. So we're in the right conversation. We're doing the right things, and people need to stop not talking about their situation. Tell the world, scream at the top of mountaintops what you're going through. Who gives a flying crap about what people think about you going through your situation? People need to hear your story.
Yep, you never know who you're going to motivate and help that day. And that's the part that I know growing up, I was taught. You don't let your skeletons out of the closet. You don't talk about what's going on, right? And lots of people are like that. But, I found that not talking about it actually is worse, because there's been so many people I've helped by sharing my story, right? And Ruth, you're doing the same thing. You're reaching out to people and in various ways, being a coach, being a speaker, being an author, getting your information out there. And I can't imagine how many people you've already helped in your journey so far.
Yes. And I think we were able to help people, not just through our work, but it's just everyday people that we come into contact with our demeanor, with our manners, and with our just what we say. And sometimes you speak to people and you don't even realize that what it is that you are saying have an impact on them. And then when you do get that feedback further down the track, where someone says to you, oh, you know what, thank you so much for saying this and this to me whenever we met. And you think, wow, what did I say? And you can't remember what you said. And that's the humbling part of it, really, because you don't, and that's why we should always have our we should always be attuned to what our mission or purpose in life is, if we know what it is, or be open to that kind of opportunities, because then we instinctively do what we should be doing. If we're not attuned or aligned to that, then it's not going to be happening. And I mean, for some people, I think depending on what journey they're on, they may not have found their purpose. They might still be on the journey to finding that purpose. And that's okay too.
Right.
Like I was on my journey of abuse to get out on the other side, and to write my book, and to get into a space where I wrote my second book. the book here, actually. This is the first one. Sean, I'm not sure whether that's my first one. Yeah.
Turn it to the spine of the book.
Spine this way.
Hey, I know that author. Is that Black Card Books?
Black Card?
Yeah. No,
Is this
maybe
a Canadian term?
No. It's Black Card Books. It's a publishing company here in Canada.
Oh no, it's Busybird Publishing.
Nice.
And then, and you know, that book, it was cathartic. It got my story out of my system, and I had to go through a lot of stuff to be able to write it, to get it onto paper, because I had to delve deep within me, and some bits that I wrote, I thought, wow, I'm still not over this. And that was the interesting part, because and also, what did I want to share with the reader? And there was a lot of times where certain bits I didn't want to share, or I didn't want to be too open to. So that was cathartic in a way. But that book led to a second book, which is the compilation one, which you may have seen something about on on Facebook. It's called The Book of Inspiration for Women by Women. And this is the cover.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
That's awesome.
So that is a collection of 365 daily messages of hope and inspiration. And that is not just from my perspective. The other book was, but this one is from women from all over the world, women and girls who want to share what's deep within their hearts, from their point of view, from their point of experience, and to help others. And you know what? The interesting thing is about this book is that it's not just women who are reading it, it's men as well. I've had a few men in the last week or so come up to me and said, you know, I've finished reading your book and it's amazing. I love it. So great. So the messages are not just there for the women, but also for the men.
Awesome.
Sure. So Ruth, when you have a bad day, you turn to your motivation and inspiration. You've obviously got certain things that you turn to every day when you need some sort of pick me up, I guess you could say.
Yes, I do different things depending on where I am and who I'm with. I tend to go into a lot of internal stuff, and I have a lot of affirmations, and depends on what I'm going through. So if it's just a surface kind of thing, I might just pick up a book and read a couple of lines in it. Just any book that jumps out at me on my bookshelf. And I know that is from there that I will need that inspiration. I'll go for a walk. I live near the beach.
Oh, nice.
So, pardon?
I said, oh, nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. Like yesterday I went there, and I haven't been down to the beach even though it's just a block away, because of what's been happening in my private life with my dad being ill and then passing away. We just haven't had that time to go there and to reflect and to make the space to walk along the beach and enjoy the beauty, the surroundings and stillness. But I do get a lot of inspiration and motivation from that. Just walking along the beach and then sitting quietly in one particular spot, closing my eyes for a few minutes, or just staring out, or watching the water, or whatever it is that's going on around me, and just be there, be present, and not try and think about the things that I need to do when I get back. So that's very important for me. And getting in touch with people, I suppose. I'm a people's person, but also I like being on my own.
So you give yourself a timeout is what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been doing that for the last little while.
Nothing wrong with the timeout when you need it.
Oh, absolutely.
and to take your time doing that, especially when you're grieving, when you've lost someone, like I have just recently with my dad. And this, and I don't have it sitting next to me, but it's about pausing, about taking time, and about allowing the time.
Most people don't take the time because they have busy lives.
Yes.
And we want to say this, guys. We're gonna wrap up here in a couple minutes because I know I like to talk, and Ruth and Julia are talkers as well. But step back, give life the chance to take your breath away and smell the roses. Everybody's busy, but busy people make things happen. Take time out of your busy day and your busy life, working your job, to spend time with your loved ones. And we too, Ruth, have had somebody pass away in the last 30 days. My best friend's dad, who was 95 years of age. Also my good friend Sandy, her mom passed away a week and a half ago. And she was 97. They both lived long, healthy lives. But we never know when it's our time.
Yes.
And we're all here on borrowed time. Don't live with the regret of not taking time for those loved ones to spend time with them, to actually smell the roses as you're walking through the garden, and walking on the beach in bare feet after you've had a nice pedicure, those kind of things. Take time, make time, because I promise you this, if you don't, it will eat you alive for the rest of your life, and you will live with that regret. Thank you so much, Ruth, for sharing. Thank you, Julia, for joining us again. Guys, the next one is going to be even better. Ruth is going to come on again, I'm sure, in the near future, because she has lots of inspiration to inspire the world. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We're out. Success with Dynamic Duo. See you on the next live. Next Wednesday, you know the time, you know the place. 12 p.m. Mountain Standard, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. See you guys next week. Have a great week. Take care. Love y'all. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.